to the research and development of digital therapeutics. I will explain later in my presentation what digital therapeutics are. In my presentation, I will discuss the paradigm shift in the development of digital therapeutics. So it is not a theory, because I told you that I am co-founder and also CEO of a startup, a research and development startup. Until last year, this was my research and development pipeline. So three digital therapeutic candidates, digital therapeutics for hypertension, chronic insomnia, and motor rehabilitation. This year, 2026, everything has changed. On one hand, we have three new AI native digital therapeutic projects. On the other hand, we are discussing what to do with the previous one, because we think they are not anymore able to be managed. So why do we need digital therapeutics, and why digital therapeutics are so important, at least of course for us? Because we think that we need a new model to manage chronic diseases. A model able to ensure support to patients between one visit and the other, a model able to ensure continuity in data generation, and a model able to change the behaviors of patients. Dysfunctional behaviors of patients are very often at the root of the chronic diseases. And I think, above all, a model able to empower patients. I think that patient-facing digital health technologies are able to support this new model. Well, digital health technologies means software for health purposes. We know that there are hundreds of thousands of patient-facing digital therapeutics. You can download from Apple Store or Google Store hundreds of thousands of apps for well-being and lifestyle. So they are many, and they are very. To classify them in more homogeneous categories, we may use these four criteria. Claims. What is the claim of the digital health technology you are developing? Is it a claim of outcomes, decrease of blood pressure, or is it a claim of well-being, to promote the well-being of sleep? Or is it a claim of a measurement? These apps will measure your blood pressure. Or is it a claim of support? With this app, you will be supported in the management of your depression, for example. Second criteria is the regulatory supervision. Third, is it to be certified or not? Strength of evidence. Do we need research to support the use of this app? And the last is type of intervention. Is it an app that measuring a parameter, or is it an app providing a medical intervention? So with these four criteria, we can identify four categories of patient-facing digital health technologies: health and wellness apps, patient monitoring, care support, and digital therapeutics. Digital therapeutics are the best-known category of digital health technologies. However, we must avoid the risk of confusing them with care supports. If we read here, care supports are solutions intended to support patient self-management of a specific medical condition. So these are applications supporting the patient in the management of his or her disease. How? By providing educational resources, recommendations, and reminders. Care supports have an impact on the process of the disease, not on outcomes. Here, as an example, for hypertension, for a care support in hypertension, the care support can improve awareness of the condition, improve adherence to drugs, increase the frequency of blood pressure measurement, improve dietary habits, or the time spent on physical activity. So the effect, the improvement is related to the process. It is like the patient navigator through the disease, through the journey in his or her disease. If we want to improve outcomes, we need digital therapeutics. We need a therapy based on software. So digital therapeutics have a history of more than 10 years. Started in 2015 with the first time of a mention of the term digital therapeutics in the scientific literature. This is the paper. Then in 2017, we have the first digital therapeutic approved by FDA, called Reset by Peer Therapeutics. In 2 years later, 2019, we have the German parliament approving the law on the reimbursement of digital therapeutics in Germany, starting from January the 1st. In 2023, the International Standardization Organization issued the technical report ISO TR 11147, providing a clear definition, clear in my view, of course, of digital therapeutics. And 2 years later, in 2025, for the first time, a journal published the report of the first trial on the first AI native digital therapeutic. So this is the history of digital therapeutics. But what are digital therapeutics? What is their definition? So according to the ISO technical report 11147 issued in 2023, digital therapeutics are, and this is the definition that you can find in this booklet, it is a 20 pages booklet, are health software intended to treat or alleviate a disease by generating and delivering a medical intervention that has a demonstrable positive therapeutic impact on patients' health. Now, let's take a closer look at these points. The first point is digital therapeutics are health software, which is clear. But not only, all the categories of digital health technologies are health software. In this case, the software can interact with patients with different digital forms, like as mobile apps on the phone, for example, or virtual reality videos, like in this case with this device, or videos on the monitor, or even now chatbot for the AI native digital therapeutics. So these are the digital forms of digital therapeutics. Second, the disease. Second, it is a health software intended to treat or alleviate a disease, a disorder, condition, injury. So we are talking about a therapeutic indication. The disease most commonly treated are mental diseases like anxiety, depression, or metabolic conditions like diabetes first, or orthopedics conditions, mainly back pain, or neurological conditions like migraine, or even otorhinolaryngologic conditions like tinnitus and vertigo. So these are the therapeutic indication. The third point is probably, together with the fourth and the last, the most important, because this is distinctive for digital therapeutics, and it is the how we can treat a disease by generating and delivering a medical intervention. So we are talking about the active ingredient of the digital therapeutic. So the active ingredient is a software, but with the software we can provide cognitive behavioral therapy. So we can provide an intervention which is the same intervention delivered by the psychotherapists for diseases like depression or insomnia. So CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is the most frequent active ingredient of digital therapeutics. Serious games, that is games not for in games for healthcare objectives, are typically used for when you have to perform a repetitive exercise, physical exercise, and so serious games may involve patients in much more interesting way. So the active ingredient, this point, generating and delivering medical intervention is very important because it clarifies the difference between digital therapeutics and care supports that we have seen before. Digital therapeutics don't provide patients with general recommendation or advices about their diseases, but they integrate these recommendations and these advices into a therapeutic procedure that the patient must follow. So it is a therapeutic procedure which is delivered by digital therapeutic. Of course, this digital procedure is based on recommendations, educational materials, etc. Well, the final part, the fourth and the last point of the definition, so as software intended to treat or alleviate a disease, disorder, condition, or injury by generating and delivering a medical intervention. And the fourth is that has a demonstrable positive therapeutic impact on a patient health. So here we are talking of the proven efficacy. We are talking about the results of the clinical trial, of a randomized controlled clinical trial, exactly as for drugs. In this case, you see, this is a digital therapeutic to treat chronic insomnia approved by FDA, the United States Agency for Drugs and Food, approved in 2020. You can see it is a trial with 300 patients divided into two arms and with published the results in a major journal at the international level. So this is the definition. However, digital therapeutics have a major issue. One issue that is common to all the categories of patient-facing digital health technologies. And this issue is called the effectiveness without use paradox. It means that there is no doubt that digital therapeutics can be effective in a controlled setting, like the setting of clinical trials. And this trial we have just seen, it is an example. However, when you go in the real life, when patients are no more patients in trials, but patients of everyday real life, the use of the digital therapeutics prescribed by physicians to patients sharply decline from 100% to less than 20 and 10% after a few weeks. So it means that it is difficult to be used by patients. After 4 weeks, virtually no patients are using digital therapeutics. Why? What is the reason? The reason is that mobile first app, that are the app at the moment typically involved with digital health technologies, well, these apps are designed as small websites optimized for the small screen of the smartphone. So they are like websites optimized for our smartphone. And these apps have these characteristics. They are form first. They are based on forms. Well, forms, so these apps are built around an interface consisting of a lot of menus, buttons, and clicks. You have to click continuously to move from a page to another. The user must adapt to the developer's logical structure if or she want to navigate between the various sections of the app. And the relationship with the app is based on the visual interaction. you need to interact with your eye and your finger to navigate. Then manual data entry. It is that you must manually complete diaries, questionnaires, and scales. It is the user that does the work. The third point is the logic, the approach of this app. They are based on a deterministic approach. So it means that the software is based on fixed rules. If you push here, then you go there. And they are based on pre-programmed treatment pathways. So they are like rule-based chatbots. The interaction are very often described by patients when talking about digital therapeutics, as repetitive and meaningless. The fourth point of mobile-first apps are the silo architecture. That means that the mobile-first apps are designed to perform specific tasks in a linear mode, one after the other. Then the no personalization. The personalization is very limited. It is based exclusively only on the selection of predefined profiles. So there is no dynamic adaptation to the user context by the software. Static knowledge. In the mobile-first app, there is no update of the knowledge. The knowledge that you get is the knowledge put in the application when it was developed for the first time. And as a consequence, you cannot expect a strong empathy in the use of these applications. So the empathy as a consequence is extremely low. Well, until last year, there was no alternative. This was the application type, no other available. Now we are at the beginning of a paradigm shift. The AI native digital therapeutics, and more in general, the AI native digital health technologies, because the same AI native architecture can be applied to all the categories that I mentioned before: patient monitoring, well-being, care supports, and of course, digital therapeutics. Well, AI means that AI is not a feature added on the top of an existing traditional product. You can find in many websites or even in some application apps, chatbots based on generative AI that can interact with you in natural language. However, this is a chatbot, this is an AI added on a specific, on a traditional software. When we talk about AI native, we talk about a foundational architectural layer around which the new application, the new app, the software product is built. So it is a totally new experience and architecture. I will take now a couple of examples from our research and development pipeline to explain the characteristics of the AI native digital therapeutics. One, it is for TENS AI, is a candidate AI native digital therapeutic to treat hypertension. Somnia AI is a candidate digital therapeutic to treat insomnia. So let's go to the characteristics of AI native digital therapeutics that we are using. I cannot exclude that there are others, but however, these are the characteristics, the features that we are using. There are 6. Voice first, voice to data, scientific grounding, expert in the loop, personalization, and guardrails. Let's start with the first, voice first. I told you before that the interaction you have with the mobile first application is visual. You need your eyes and you need your fingers to change, to navigate in the app. Well, with the voice first, the interaction is visual. You use your voice, you speak in a natural language with the artificial intelligence. So instead of filling questionnaires or scales, you speak to the chatbot, you speak to the artificial intelligence. The user speaks natively. All the AI listens, understands the context, and responds continuously. In the same way you interact with a physician or with a psychotherapist. The second point is voice to data. The artificial intelligence of AI native applications is able to convert the natural conversation into structured longitudinal profile. So it is the system able to capture data from the conversation and to put the data in the questionnaires, in the scales, in the different repository to see the evolution of the disease parameters, etc. You don't need to fill in anything. It is through the conversation that the AI will take the information from you during the discussion to put the information in the databases. The third point is probably, at least in my experience, the most important, or at least as important as the previous one, is the scientific grounding. So we may anchor data, the conversation of the chatbot of the artificial intelligence to science. So in the application, in the AI native digital therapeutic, we can put the knowledge we want to be used during the conversation with patients. Now I will share with you the experience with our digital therapeutics in development. We provide the digital therapeutic with these 5 points of knowledge. So the knowledge base is based on 1, regulations and laws. We want the digital therapeutic to know the European, I speak from Italy, from Verona in Italy, and so I want the digital therapeutics to know the European and the Italian specific, if there are, regulation and laws. So the European medical device regulation, there is all the regulation, the European regulation on privacy, the European regulation on artificial intelligence, the so-called AI Act, and the Italian law on artificial intelligence approved in September 25. So before conversation with patients, the digital therapeutic, the AI native digital therapeutic will analyze all these documents to provide the proper answer or the proper conversation. Second point, digital health. We have put in the knowledge bases the Digital Therapeutic Alliance classification of digital health technologies, the AI ISO technical report 11147 I mentioned before, and all the Digital Therapeutic Alliance library. The third is even more important because talking about AI native digital therapeutic on hypertension, we have provided the knowledge base with the American Heart Association Guidelines on Hypertension 2025, the European Society of Cardiology Guidelines on Hypertension 24, the European Society this is cardiology, this is Hypertension Society Guidelines on Hypertension 23, the clinical evidence published on PubMed, the clinical opinion published on PubMed, all the randomized clinical trials are registered in the clinicaltrials.gov of the NIH. So before conversation, when in conversation with patients, the digital therapeutics, AI native, are able to consult, to understand, to use all this knowledge and not the knowledge of the previous tuning, of the previous training. So the artificial intelligence can use only this knowledge, not the knowledge that was originally used for the treatment, the pre-treatment. Then the fourth is non-drug intervention. Hypertension depends on different causes, and so there are documents by the NIH about health eating, from WHO about the physical activity and the stress, the management of stress, documents on smoking cessation, documents about mindfulness and CBT. And then there are documents on competition. So this is the knowledge base, and the knowledge base might be as broad as you want. So there is no limit to the quantity of knowledge you can provide to the artificial intelligence in your digital therapeutic AI native DTX. Then other feature is the expert in the loop. Expert in the loop means that we no longer interact, we as a human, we in our startup, no longer interact one-to-one with individual patients. We curate the knowledge base. We validate the AI inference patterns. We update every week the knowledge of the artificial intelligence with the new published papers, for example, or with the new guidelines. So the human supervision is not an occasional post hoc check. It is the core engine of the system's knowledge update cycle. And as a consequence, there is the personalization. We have seen that in the mobile first app, the personalization is very low. Here, we have a knowledge base validated by humans, and we have information about patients, longitudinal information, a longitudinal clinical profile. So crossing the clinical profile of a patient with the knowledge that we have provided to the artificial intelligence, we may provide the patients with an output that is dynamic, changing with the changing of the clinical profile, and hyper-contextual. So the knowledge is personalized for the specific clinical profile of the patients. And of course, we need to ensure the safety and security of patients with the so-called guardrails. Guardrails are a set of measures, protocols, and mechanisms implemented to ensure that the AI native digital therapeutics operates within safe, ethical, and therapeutic effective parameters, preventing, for example, answers that are inappropriate, harmful, or inconsistent with the therapeutic objectives of the digital therapeutics. And we have, this is an example for Somnia AI, the candidate digital therapeutic for insomnia, where we have a medical triage protocol based on contraindications. Somnia recognized situation where CBT insomnia is not recommended without medical supervision, and there are warning sign detection. If the user mentions symptoms of severe depression, thoughts of self-harms, or obstructive sleep apnea, Somnia soon activates a medical triage protocol, suggesting professional consultation and limiting automated recommendation. Well, I'm going to conclude my presentation because this is how we are now developing our candidate AI native digital therapeutics. However, there is an example already in the literature. Last year, March 27, 2025, in New England Journal of Medicine AI, there was the first publication of the results of the first AI native digital therapeutic called Terabot. Terabot is a digital therapeutic based on a generative AI chatbot for mental health treatment. So this is a picture taken from the paper. This is the authorization. This is the conversation between the AI, the green part, the left part, and the patient's the green part. It is a natural conversation. It is the same conversation that the patient can have with psychotherapists. Here you can see the guardrail. In this case, call 911, which is the emergency telephone number, in case there are signal of harms or others. The results: 51% of reduction in symptoms of depression after 4 weeks, 31% reduction of symptoms of generalized anxiety after 4 weeks, a 19% percentage reduction in concerns about body image and weight for eating disorders. According to the authors, this is one of the best outcomes you can have in the therapy, disregarding the technological nature of the therapy, human, software, or chemical, or whatever. And as important as the results, the participants rated the therapeutic alliance with Therabot, with the software, with the AI native digital therapeutics, as comparable to that of human therapists. And this is my last slide, and it is also my suggestion and advice to the researcher, to the colleagues that want to research and develop new digital therapeutic. Well, if you think to develop a mobile first app for your digital therapeutics, you must know that the mobile app you are planning is already outdated. Now it is AI native. Apps don't just respond to taps, they anticipate what users need before they ask it. And so it is important for you to know that the era of AI native health application, both either digital therapeutics, but also patient monitoring or care supports or health and wellness, this era has arrived. And with this in mind, I thank you for the attention.